How was last week, Jess?
Amazing. Amazing. I'm probably the only person that's been on a health and fitness retreat and put on half a stone, but it was amazing. Best week ever.
Oh, you look well. You look well for it.
I feel refreshed. I feel like a new woman, I have to say. I was ready for it.
Oh. I'm just really glad you're back.
I'm pleased I'm back as well, actually, especially with the sunshine.
Brought it back with you.
I did, right? Right, everybody is starting to join us. It's getting busy. I can see Rachel Thompson's lovely face.
How are you?
I'm very well. I owe you a call back. You phoned me earlier. I'm sorry I haven't forgotten.
No, it's fine. Don't worry.
First day back. Manic. Richard Harkness, lovely to see you.
Hi.
Good to see you. Ellen Wilson, delightfully to see your face, my
Hello.
lovely. Hello.
How are you?
Fabulous.
How was your holiday?
Fabulous. Oh, dreamy.
It looked amazing. I was so jealous.
Yeah, it was the worst week ever. So it's fabulous. Verity, hello, lovely to see you. I'm just saying hello to people as I can start to see their faces. If you have got a camera, please turn it on. It would be wonderful to see you. Now we have around about 26 plus registered, so we're just going to give it a few minutes if that's okay, to just let a few more people enter if that's all right. Everybody keeping well though? For a sunny Tuesday in September?
Yes, I am good, thank you.
Thanks, Ellen. I know you're not the shy type.
I know. I'm just trying to stop my webcam out and I'm just trying to move you away from the mess that's in my room that's waiting to go in the attic, so I'm moving you around this way.
There's no judgment from our side.
No.
Right. I think the waiting rooms, we're just creeping up in terms of participants, everybody. So we'll just wait a couple of minutes if that's all right. Just for allow a few more minutes for people to sign in. Let's see where we are. Gosh, it really has been a very warm day today, hasn't it? The sun's kind of blazing in and I'm thinking, it's warmer than Italy.
Have you been to Italy?
Did you not know?
Not heard.
I'll send you some pictures.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
Sorry, I've been one of those smug people that's been on holiday. I do apologise to everybody.
Okay.
Was it a retreat you went on, Jess? Was it kind of like it looked like a fitness retreat, was it?
It was a health and fitness retreat, but it was in Italy, so I did 5-course dinners and wine pairing every evening, so I put on about half a stone, so it was brilliant. Absolutely loved it.
But if you hadn't, you'd have put on probably about a stone, so that makes it all fine.
Oh, exactly, there you go. Yeah, you can't go to Italy and not have the copious amounts of pasta and wine, can you?
No,
It would genuinely be a sin. So.
Are you sure it wasn't a vineyard you went to for the week? You didn't get the wrong address, or you didn't take the wrong turning or something like that?
Well, they haven't asked me to do a testimonial in terms of how how much weight I've lost afterwards, so I think I might have gone to the wrong place. But anyway, guys, I'm so sorry. I'm sure not all of you want to hear about my holiday. Right, do you think we should get started, Emma?
I was going to say, do you want to keep crack on and I'll just keep an eye on the waiting room?
Fabulous, fabulous. So, welcome everybody. It is fabulous to have you here. My name is Jessica Williams. I'm the Managing Director of Just Williams. My colleague here is Emma Story, and this is our second webinar that we've run for sales and social media, or social media and sales, whichever way you want to say it. And I'm really, really delighted that we have 3 amazing panelists for you this afternoon. The whole purpose of today really is because we did want to originally back in, well, feels like forever ago, a few months ago, when, you know, we were kind of mid lockdown and we were really kind of exploring how sales and social media can work together. And I think you'll agree we've all seen a significant change in the way that we do business, and certainly from a sales perspective. And whether we used as our individually or as organisations, whether we use social media or not, I think certainly now we are all considering that it's really essential, given that we haven't always got the ability to have face-to-face contact. So today I am really, really delighted to be joined by three exceptional gentlemen that I know very well, and each one of them is going to be representing a different social media platform. So I have Simon Clayton, who is going to be representing LinkedIn for us today. We have Mr. Paul Lancaster, who's going to be our Twitter expert, and we have Mr. Ben Gell from Social Allies, who's going to be our Instagram expert. So I've got a range of different questions that we're going to run through. Please, let's have this as interactive as possible. It's really informal. If you've got questions, please put them in the chat facility. And Emma's going to keep me absolutely right, or do her, bless her, her best. I've got far too much energy today. So if you've got any questions, put them in the chat box and we'll get through them. We're recording the session as well. So can I just start by asking the guys to do a little bit of an overview of themselves. So Simon, starting with you, tell us a bit about yourself and why LinkedIn is your kind of favourite.
Okay, my name's Simon Clayton. I run a business called Marketing Skills Academy. I'm a marketing coach, and I basically work with business owners, coaches, consultants, look at how to create their marketing business development plans. I'm also a lecturer at Teesside University, and I always get this plug in because I wrote a book last year as well. Do you a good day for us to buy it? They make a brilliant thing for popping up chairs and stuff. Yeah, LinkedIn, for me, LinkedIn is the best platform, B2B platform. It's great for growing your personal brand as well as your business brand. It's constantly evolving and changing. And for me, if you want to reach those real tough decision makers, there's no better platform.
Thank you very much and very well put. Mr. Lancaster, tell us about Twitter and you.
Yeah, sure. So I'm not disagreeing with what he's just said there. I kind of agree with, well, I do agree with everything that he said there. So I'm Paul Lancaster at Lord Lancaster. So if you're not following me on Twitter, follow me there, right? But I've been using social media for about 12 years now. I've worked for local enterprise agencies, youth enterprise schemes. I work for corporates. I've worked for the government. And then I finally started my own business about 4.5 years ago. So to me, social media has just been a fantastic way to reach audiences, to build audiences online, and to spread the word about products or services that I'm working on, to build relationships, and just as a really fast communication tool as well. People usually get a faster response from me if they send me a tweet or a direct message than they would if they sent me an email. But of all the social media platforms, I do use most of them. Twitter's the one that I've had the most success with, so kind of Twitter's my thing, although it is changing, so we'll talk about that in the discussion.
Tell us more in a minute. Mr. Gell, how lovely to see you. Tell us about you and Social Allies, and tell us about Instagram and why it's your favourite.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so hi, I'm Ben. I'm from Social Allies. We're a creative marketing agency, so we cover all things like social media. I'm creative lead there, so I do anything creative from graphics to photography, videography, animation, all that good stuff. Instagram for me, I'm a little bit biased, obviously being a visual person, so I'm all about the visuals for me.
No, that's fair enough. That's fair enough. Right, guys, so you've had a bit of an overview from each one of them. This isn't, by the way, a pitch off between which platform's best, although I did perhaps phrase it like that, which was not intentional, so my error.
You sparked some fighting talk there, didn't you?
Didn't I? It was like who's in which corner. It wasn't intentional, so you can have all three. So we've got a series of we've got 5 questions that we want to go through today, and I'm going to start with the first one. I'm just going to ask each of the gentlemen to give us a bit of an overview for representing each one of their platforms, if that's okay. Feel free to ask questions along the way, though, apart from you, JP, because I know you're going to hassle me there. I can see you watching already. Right, so the first question is going to be around how have you seen each of your platforms kind of adapt and evolve, especially during COVID? What changes have you seen to them, and how have people changed in the way that they use the platform? So let's start with Simon in terms of LinkedIn.
Okay. I think the big thing with LinkedIn is that we're seeing a lot more authentic content, a lot more honest content, a lot less kind of salesy pushing, more people just saying, look, we're all in this together, we're having a rough time at the moment. People sharing their stories, their lockdown stories. Long form posts are really still very popular. And I think that's one of the ways in which, in terms of the content on there, has evolved over the kind of last 6-9 weeks. LinkedIn's also made some changes to itself, to its platform. So first of all, we've got featured work now. So if you look underneath your profile at the top, what used to be part of your about section, where you could put videos and brochures and stuff, it's actually come away as a separate section now. So if you've got a video introduction to your business or to yourself, it's a great place to put it, because it's kind of the first thing you'll see. Usually lies above the fold. Also, we've got more characters now for our title. So please, please, please don't put your job title in there underneath your name. Talk about the solution you provide, the outcome you provide. And I say we've gone from, I think it's 120 characters to 240 characters. So you can actually widen that area as well. Other stuff, you've got, what was I going to say? Open to work, where you can now advertise the kind of work you're looking for. And again, that's within your profile section. And you can also create a recording of your voice and your name if you've got a hard name to pronounce. Which is a bit different, isn't it? So yeah, they're the kind of the main things. But for me, authenticity has been key the last 6 to 8 weeks. A lot more life stories. And the posts that are getting that engagement are people who are just being normal, not overtly selling, just kind of saying how it is.
Okay. No, thanks for that, Simon. What about you, Ben? How have you seen Instagram change over the last kind of 6 months or so?
Yeah, I'd say in terms of people posting, probably I agree with Simon about the authenticity, like people using stories a lot more. Obviously, with people being in lockdown and everything, the amount of stories is unreal. But Instagram itself as a platform has probably changed the most, I think, out of the three over the course of lockdown. Like, I mean, the amount of features that they've come out with.
Okay.
I mean, in terms of even business accounts and personal accounts. So I mean, obviously the biggest thing was the launch of Reels, which is their sort of competitor to TikTok, which is starting to take off really well. What else is it? Instagram TV is being expanded. You've got Instagram shops now, which obviously you could do tap to shop to buy before, but now you don't actually have to go to any external websites. So that's really good for retailers and people with e-com websites. They've also been testing having the full homepage with stories as well, because obviously the amount of people that are using them, it's just skyrocketed, and people are using that a lot more than the feed now as well. And also fundraising options has become quite a big thing, because obviously a lot of people suffering financially through lockdown, and they also launched the local businesses sticker as well for your Instagram shop. So if you want to promote any businesses that you're a fan of locally, you can always tag them in that, and then that directs people to their profile.
Oh wow!
As well,
I've learned quite a lot in the last 3 seconds. Wow.
They've been busy.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so over to Twitter then, Paul.
I think one of the reasons why I like Twitter the most is because it probably feels like the least commercial out of all of them. So the speed at which you can get information about things that are happening around the world, but also you can share information on Twitter, I think is still the fastest through Twitter. It's the quickest and easiest way to reach new audiences and keep existing audiences engaged, even if they're not part of your existing network. The downside to that is there can be a lot of misinformation out there as well. So you've got to be wary of that. But some of the other platforms, particularly the Facebook-owned platforms, the way to reach large audiences, you seem to have to pay for that, because the organic reach is not as good as it once was. And now LinkedIn is kind of replaced Facebook as probably the best place for organic reach out of all of the platforms. But still, in terms of just getting information about what's going on locally, regionally, nationally, internationally, I think Twitter is still right up there as the top one. And I've seen some research to show that during lockdown, people's consumption of social media has skyrocketed. It's gone right up there, but a lot of businesses, their output has gone down.
Right.
Because they're probably, a bit stuck in limbo. They don't really know what they're doing, and they feel like they haven't really got anything good to say about the business because they've been a bit stuck. But the problem with that is the businesses have kept consistent, putting out messages and information about the business are the ones that are performing better. So if you're a small business and you're not consistently putting information out, even if it's just telling people how things are going and how you're preparing for the ease of lockdown, you're at a disadvantage compared to the ones that have kept that up throughout the lockdown. So that's just something for everyone to be mindful of. Even if you don't think you have anything positive to say, you probably do have something positive to say.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think it's been interesting to see, as you know, we're all probably used to familiar names that we see on a regular basis in social media, and I think unfortunately, if you haven't seen those for a while, sometimes the presumption is that either they're no longer around or they're no longer engaged, and I think that consistency is really key, isn't it? So I think, you know, it's probably fair to say, regardless of your knowledge of each one of the social media platforms, our perceptions of them have probably changed, how we engage with them, and we've probably changed how we engage with them as well. I mean, constantly on Instagram there's pictures of Zoom, you know, kind of calls and things like that, which is obviously very different. But yeah, I think we have a business has changed as well. So, okay, going on to the next one then, guys. Top 3 tips. Okay, so I suppose bearing in mind we've seen a lot of change by the sounds of it on each one of the platforms from a personal perspective and from a business perspective. What are your top 3 tips moving forward in terms of how we can engage with those platforms in a really effective manner? So I'm going to start with Paul, actually, if I may, this time.
Okay, but yeah, three tips. Okay,
3 tips.
I think something I've personally actually been doing recently this year since July is be consistent, like be clear on what you're trying to say, and review that, you know, because and be consistent, put out consistent messaging that backs up who you are and what you want to be seen to be doing, because I don't know if that's one tip or 2 tips, but the reason I'm saying that is that I do have kind of like an above average number of followers on Twitter, but what I was finding is, despite that, I was getting a lot of people saying, we don't really know what you do. Like, we know of you and we see you lots of places, but we don't really understand what you do. And I actually did a proper review. There's a lady called Brittany Crystal, which is an amazing name. She did the personal online branding for Gary Vaynerchuk and Tom Bilyeu and Marie Forleo, I think, all these like big social media stars. And I did a review that she put together, and it just got me thinking, am I actually putting across consistently who I am in all the content I'm putting out? And I've changed my Twitter bio completely to just reinforce it. So it now says award-winning super connector of entrepreneurs, intrapreneurs and investors, because they are 3 people that I was working with, but not everyone knew that I was working with investors. So now since then I'm getting followed by a lot more investors, and I'm having more conversations with investors. So anyway, so be consistent, be clear on who you are now and where you want to go. So my Twitter bio again is not only focused on where I am now, but where I'm heading to with the new work that I'm doing. And then everything that I'm putting out is consistently backing up. Give examples of that. Be engaging, yeah, like share, don't just like broadcast salesy stuff and trying to hit people over the head with it, and try to offer value, always add value wherever possible, and then you build up that rapport and the trust, and then you've got an opportunity to make a sale or at least have a conversation. But I think yeah, they've got to know and like you first before you can have those conversations. Follow people as well. Like, don't just expect people to follow you unless you're a celebrity. Some celebrities don't follow anyone. Like Kanye West, I think, only follows Kim Kardashian. But
well, that's generous of him, at least. No, good advice. Thank you very much, Simon. LinkedIn top 3 tips.
Top 3 tips, LinkedIn. Okay, first of all, it's been around for ages, but storytelling, brand storytelling, so important. Don't just go on LinkedIn and just do a brain dump. Think about what you're trying to say. Think about your audience. So one of the best models I use is start with a question or a statement, empathize with the problem, and then provide some kind of solution or some kind of knowledge that's going to help your audience. That's the first thing. Second thing is unless you're marketing to the world, which I think nobody is, be very mindful of your target audience. Paul touched on this. You know, if you've got specific sectors you want to target, make sure you hashtag them, make sure you tag them within your posts, make sure your content is more aligned to those kind of sectors rather than just trying to write stuff that's just too generic. And finally, featured work. What a brilliant opportunity to put a video above your profile. You know, I say it's got its own little place now, you know, and that's the chance where you put a video in there, video introduction or some kind of download, some kind of lead magnet, whatever it is. Just going back to the content, I always say make sure you stick with the 3 E's. So first of all, make sure you create content that is engaging, make sure you create content that is educational, and at the moment, make sure your content empathizes as well. We're going through that period still of empathetic marketing. So it's not about going out there and being bolshy with your sales message. It's more about listening to what your audience wants and then giving them some kind of solution. We buy from people we know, like, and trust. And when we come back to some form of normality, if we ever come back to some form of normality, they're the people that, you know, that those brands are going to go to, the people that they know, like, and trust. So just be mindful of that as well. Great platform, build that relationship. There's a massive opportunity at the moment. As Paul said, you don't have to pay to get noticed. So use it, because that will change. That will change soon. It's Microsoft owned, guaranteed it'll start flogging advertising and go the same way as Facebook. So.
Thank you, Simon. That's fantastic and really good advice. I would just like to point out that Simon has just invested in a stand-up desk. He's not swaying for any other reason. The fact that he stood up, just to clarify.
I'm also on an exercise bike as well, just while we're talking.
Ben, talk to us about your top 3 tips for Instagram then.
Yeah, the first one might be a little bit obvious, but be visual. Like, Instagram's a visual platform. Just make sure that your content's, like, as Simon said, engaging. It needs to look good. And if you're, like, putting out graphics out there for anyone, make sure that it's catered to your target audience and things are cohesive as well. Second tip is use stories. Like, I can't shout about this enough, especially after the past couple of months. It's becoming the main feature of Instagram, and the amount of people watching it's, like, insane. So, and as I said, they've been testing it to roll out to the main page, so it's probably now is a good time to jump on and start using that. And finally, be active. Like, interact with people. Make sure that you're, like, following there. You're not just leaving people sort of on red. And, like, actually, like, engage with your followers.
Good advice. Good advice. Okay. Is everyone all right for me to move on to the next question? Yeah, fantastic. I know quite a lot of you, and I know that you're not shy, so do feel free to put a question in the chat box if you've got one. So, okay, that is all brilliant advice, guys. Okay, but just playing devil's advocate now. How do we create then fantastically engaging content when we've really got not a lot of time? So how, you know, it would be brilliant. It sounds like, you know, we've got some great tips from you guys there in terms of how we can really increase engagement, and love Simon's kind of 3 E's there in regards to from a LinkedIn perspective. But how do we create amazing content when we're pretty time poor? Go on, Ben, start with you.
Okay. Again, Instagram's quite a fairly easy one. Just snap away anything you see.
But what if we're working from home?
Let's say if you've had a coffee on a morning, start your day with a great coffee. Get that on your stories. Literally, like, Instagram's probably the easiest one. It doesn't take a lot of thought just to take a picture and sort of document your day. If you're doing it from, like, obviously a personal perspective, if you're trying to get that human aspect to your brand, there's nothing to stop you from taking, like, a picture of a team meeting, those sorts of things. You can repurpose content as well. Look at things that have worked for you in the past, reshare that if it's been a couple of months. And also, if you're using graphics, like, use your designer if you've got one. If not, you can use, like, free tools like Canva. Literally just, you know, select your image and add your text on there, and that's just quite an easy way for people to do it.
Great, thank you, Ben. What about Twitter, Paul?
I mean, I guess so what I do, I tend to share similar content across all platforms, but in a slightly different way. So I'll word it. So I don't use anything where it just auto shares it across different platforms. Each post will be slightly edited, you know, according to the platform. But I mean, I'm always writing blogs, I'm always doing videos, I'm always doing podcasts, I'm always reading books, I'm always going to interesting places. So yeah, I'm doing a lot more visual stuff, photos, more behind the scenes type activity, and definitely, although I'm meant to be talking about Twitter, I think the things that have really engaged people in recent months during lockdown is more behind the scenes stuff. So when I've been going out on my early morning walks or skateboard rides and taking photos of graffiti and exploring the city, like, people seem to really like that. They're seeing up until the lockdown, I was probably much more business focused, just talking about work. But now I'm kind of showing a bit more about me and what inspires and motivates me and my kind of journey, I suppose. And I'm sharing that on Twitter and LinkedIn as well. But yeah, Twitter, it always, yeah, I always try to focus with the content and trying to get people back to the content. So try to have the blog or the podcasts hosted on the website, and I'm trying to get people back to the website.
And how often are you posting on Twitter, Paul?
Twitter is a lot, yeah. So I'm pretty much throughout the day, like all day, retweeting, liking, posting my own content. I tend to post stuff really early in the morning. I like to, if there's something that I want to kind of get people's attention, like I think it's a really chunky bit of content, I'll tend to share it early morning and then try to keep it going throughout the day. So try to, and sometimes it takes on a bit of a life of its own, because people pick up on it throughout the day until the evening. But yeah, Twitter, it's not just one tweet, it's like lots of tweets, maybe 10, 15 tweets a day. Yeah. Maybe more.
You're scaring people now, Paul. Everyone's going, oh, I haven't got time for that.
Whereas Instagram would be one, maybe two. Yeah. LinkedIn would probably be one, or maybe 2 or 3 a week or something like that. It's much less frequent on LinkedIn and Instagram, but Twitter is much more freewheeling because it's so fast.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. So Simon, I suppose then over to LinkedIn, really, in terms of creating that really kind of quality, you know, and effective and engaging content. Where do you start and how do you do that? You know, and how often should you do that?
Well, I think as both Paul and Ben have touched on, each platform has its own merit, has its own reason for existence. So obviously with Ben and Instagram is very visual. With Paul, it's a lot more conversational. So conversations move much faster. With LinkedIn, because it's a business platform, we tend to expect a lot more kind of business talk, you know, kind of a more, dare I say, serious stuff. So it's think about what kind of content does the audience want to hear. What I say with content with any platform is you can actually create one great blog post. Start with a blog post first, 500 to 600 words blog post. And then you can keep repurposing that blog post. So the blog post then becomes a script for a video. It can be a script for a podcast. You can take portions out of the blog post and turn it into some kind of infographic or some kind of image. That for me is how you would create content fast. But we all know that good content takes time. And especially with LinkedIn, where we are looking for stuff that is a bit more deeper sometimes, you know, it really just depends again on, I'm kind of ducking out here, aren't I? What kind of content your audience want to read and see from a business point of view, you know, and are you giving them that target audience what they want to hear and see? And for me, start with a blog post and just keep repurposing that content. So there's no quick fire answer, I don't think.
Yeah.
Although having said that, I've seen a few posts where you kind of think, gosh, I can see that's written. Some people put on, you know, what's your favourite wine glass to drink your wine in over the weekend? I think, my goodness me. But it seems to get engagement. So some people must connect with that kind of thing. I don't know. You know what I mean? What colour wellies would you wear today when the sun's out but it's raining? Oh, you know, what stuff. But I've seen this kind of stuff. So, yeah, for me, think about your audience. One great piece of content and then repurpose that content across different mediums, different tools.
Yeah, Okay, I think we've got a couple of questions, haven't we, from
Yes.
I've just seen a fabulous one from Rachel Thompson from the Chamber, so thank you, Rachel. So for those of you who aren't in the chat, so Rachel's question is, for those people that have been on furlough for quite a long time, how would you advise them to build up their engagement on their social media platforms again? So if they've had no engagement for, I mean, for some people it might be months and months and months, what would your advice be, guys, in terms of in terms of how they start to build that traction again? Who wants to go first? I'll let you guys choose.
I go to follow on what I've said before. Like, I suppose if you've been quiet, then people might think that you're not in business, or that things aren't happening with you. So it's not that they're not interested, it's just that maybe they're just not seeing you in the timeline, or you're not front of mind. I think an organisation like the Chamber does have a role, like a leadership role. You know, people do trust and look to organisations like that for advice and guidance. So I think just start putting out information on where things are now and where things are going and what you're doing as an organisation to just remind people of the value that your organisation gives. It won't take long to get that engagement up again. But again, if you've tagged people into it, you know, if you want to grab people's attention and you want them to see it, like CC them in or reply to your post, and 9 times out of 10 people will like it and read it or share it, especially if you ask them to. Just as well, following on what I was saying before, what I tend to do is sometimes previews don't pull through into social media. So a little thing I do, I quite often take a screenshot of the blog, the bit of content, and then I'll attach that to the post, because I want people to almost get a preview of what it is before they click the link. Because one thing I hate is you click a link thinking it's something, and then you get in and think, well, that was just a waste of time. So I like to kind of show people what it is first, so they can decide whether they want to go through to it. So that's just something I've always done, and it seems to.
That's good advice.
People like that.
Ben, Simon, have you got anything to add to that?
Yeah, I was just literally going to say, like, probably just start interacting a bit more with people, start tagging them in things, and just slowly build yourself back up that way.
Yeah, I was going to say building your profile. I think, if anything, most of us have experienced the same kind of thing. So, for example, I put a post out last week about how during lockdown I was drinking more, and my mental health wasn't great, and that whole kind of thing, and it got an amazing response. Even people who didn't like the post were sending me messages. And I kind of thought, yeah, there's certain things we've all experienced, some things we want to talk about, some things we don't. But in general, in terms of furlough, our whole life has changed, getting up later in the morning, going to bed late, all that kind of thing. These are all experiences that people get. It's not just you, if you know what I mean. And also what kind of lessons you've learned from that. So in the face of adversity, this is what I've actually learned about myself. That actually I need structure in my life, or I need to kind of plan. I've missed the fact that I need people around me. Those are the kind of stories that you can talk about from furlough that we've experienced that are getting that engagement at the moment. So yeah, that's the kind of advice I would put in there.
Fabulous. Was that useful, Rach? Yeah. Fabulous. I've just got Ellen Wilson's asked a question as well, if I'm all right, just to head to that one as well, guys, whilst we've got one. So I think this is a really good question, because I think this is quite I think sometimes we all struggle a little between the personal and the business side, and that mixing them together or keeping them separate. So Ellen works for North Yorkshire Education Services, which is part of North Yorkshire County Council, and Ellen's question is, for linking up with a company Twitter account, what would you say is a good mix of Twitter on a kind of personal updates and company or corporate updates? How do you find that kind of balance?
Do you want me to start? I mean,
go on, Paul.
It depends what you're sharing in a personal capacity, I would say, right?
Yeah.
So my personal Twitter account is always pretty consistent. I only really talk about startup, small business, marketing, Northeast economy. It's very consistent. I don't really talk about much personal stuff on there. As I said before, Instagram, I'm doing a bit more personal stuff behind the scenes, but Twitter is pretty consistent business focused. But I have seen people where it's full of personal stuff, and then they'll occasionally put like a business tweet in there, or they'll retweet the business account's tweet, and it just looks really odd. And if someone follows that through and they read the rest of your timeline, and it can look a bit awkward or a bit embarrassing even for the organization, then it's probably worth just looking at what you're already putting out there and considering either having a bit of a clear out of stuff that you've already been putting out there, or having a different business account. So for the organisation with your name in it, I don't know. I'd have to look at your account and give you some advice on what you're doing. But yeah, it can look really bad if an organisation wants their staff to share their tweets and to amplify the reach, but it's full of people talking about getting drunk or having fights or whatever. You just got to be careful there.
I think it starts with a really watertight social media policy, especially for the organisation that Ellen represents. I think people are going to know where the boundaries are. And that's the big thing with especially those corporate accounts, because it is very easy to put something out there that to some can just seem funny and to others can be quite offensive. So it's just laying the ground rules and saying, look, these are the kind of things we want to talk about. Let's keep it corporate. Let's remember who we are, what our persona is. Let's represent the brand. And anything outside of that, it's just not acceptable.
Yeah. But on that as well, like, they don't own you. Like, an organization doesn't own you and doesn't own your personal social media account. So if you really don't want it mixed up with your personal stuff, then I would say set up a new account for business only and keep your personal one completely separate. Because I suppose in jobs I've had in the past, one of the reasons they hired me was because I had a pretty good social media following, so they were benefiting from that. But occasionally they would try and tell me what I could and couldn't put out. And I was like, well, no, this is my account. You don't control that account, and this is what I've always done. So yeah, just be mindful of that.
Okay. Ben, is there anything else that you add to that? I mean, I suppose again on Instagram, obviously it's without saying the obvious, it's very visual. So
yeah.
I think it's finding that balance, isn't it? Because I think so obviously I own the business. I do a bit of a mixture. But I think Paul was probably talking about me when he was talking about that mixture of posts, actually. I was thinking, oh no, he's totally talking to me. But I think it's really difficult to find that kind of balance, isn't it, really? So how would you do it on an Instagram basis, Ben?
I think it depends on the business. It kind of depends on kind of what product or service you offer. I think obviously like some businesses can be a bit more cheeky with the stuff that they say on social. But yeah, like Simon said, it all depends on brand tone of voice. And if you're a very, very corporate brand, I wouldn't be that cheeky at all, to be honest. Like, make sure you play out safe with that.
Yeah, like you said, I think it goes back down to those brand guidelines, doesn't it? That social media policy, and just really understanding, as I say, that and having a very clear understanding of what's expected and really what messaging you're trying to get across. So very quick one then, guys. What's our view? Paul's already touched on it a little bit. What's our view on kind of manually posting every day or however frequently you do it, or scheduling? What's your vote going for? Simon, what about you? Do you schedule stuff or?
No, not on LinkedIn. Maybe it's on other platforms, not on LinkedIn. For me, it's about, putting out there on the day, 2 or 3 times a week, posting on LinkedIn, and also making sure you engage with other people, comment on other posts. I mean, I've heard some horror stories where people have actually pre-planned stuff and something's happened in the media. And it's turned from being something that could be quite topical to being actually quite offensive or rude, just because of the fact that nobody's been watching. So I think there is a place for kind of planning and automating, but I think it's got to be stuff that's kind of really well structured and not political, time sensitive. But for me, I'm a big advocate of literally, if you can plan at least a week ahead and then put it out on the day and just, converse and watch. Bearing in mind with the LinkedIn algorithm, it has a 60-minute window. So it watches the engagement in 60-minute and then it'll rank that content depending on what's going to be shown throughout the rest of the day. So if you can get high engagement in 60 minutes, it means that your post is going to keep showing up where it needs to do. Whereas if it's really low, LinkedIn will rank accordingly, basically. So for me, putting it out there, and it sounds really sad, but just watching what happens and watching and comments, and when they come in, make sure you answer them straight away if you can, and just tell the algorithm, this is a popular post.
Okay, thank you, Simon. Ben?
Yeah, I think with us, from an agency perspective, scheduling is a godsend because of obviously the amount of clients we have. A lot of stuff is promotion. So obviously, as Simon said, it's not like political or really time sensitive. So we can get that like marketing strategy like solidified, everything made up, scheduled, and then you're good to go for the month.
Yeah.
But then obviously on the flip side of it, when you do have like reactive posts, or you are doing stories, like posting on the day is probably a lot more beneficial to do stuff like that. Because obviously you lose the authenticity as well if you schedule stuff like stories. And sometimes people can see that it's quite like contrived a little bit. So yeah, if you're doing stuff like that, then I'd say do it on the day. But other than that, for a good solid marketing schedule.
No, it's fair enough. Paul?
Yeah, following on from that, I've never really been a fan of scheduling posts. I can see the benefit, time saving, and it's quite good if you have like a bare bones sort of skeleton of content. Like if you know what's going to come up, and but I've always found that difficult. I'm much better kind of in the moment, just coming up with things on the fly. So everything that you see that I put on Twitter, LinkedIn, Instagram, that I've posted it just then. I'm not saying that is the best way for everyone, but it works for me. But if you are scheduling it, I think, like you say, like leave room to breathe, have some regular things going out, but also have some space that the business or the owner or people in the team can put things in there as things come up, and so give them a bit of freedom and flexibility to do that.
Yeah. Okay. Quick show of hands then for those that have got videos on, and if you haven't, you can have the option of turning your videos on. But who has? I just want to understand how many platforms everybody's using. So who's using LinkedIn?
See, wise people, clever people. Well done.
Everyone. This is not a competition, Simon. This is not like, no, it's not. Right?
Let's go out.
Jess Tucker using LinkedIn. Nice, thanks, Jess.
Well done.
What about Twitter? Who's using Twitter? Oh, a few less there. What about Instagram? Okay, interesting. Right. Our last question is around, this is the kind of killer question. So I want to talk through this in quite a lot of detail. Please, as I say, if you've got any questions you want to ask after this is my last question. So if you've got any other questions you want to ask, please, as I say, put them in the chat box and we'll certainly come to them. But as I said, obviously Just Williams is a sales outsourcing company, and obviously we've experienced, as you guys, because you'll all be responsible for sales in some way, a real change in the way that we have to get new sales, right? A change in the way that we can engage with people. We have to find new ways of meeting people because we don't bump into people. We're not at events, we're not at exhibitions, we're not at networking. So, I'm really interested now as to how actually as an organisation, you and anybody really that's looking to grow their business or ensure that they kind of maintain the business, how are they engaging with people? So I'd really like to find out from each one of the guys now in terms of, how your social media platform that you're representing today, how you can kind of engage that within your sales strategy to really kind of drive business growth. So $1 million question. Who wants to start? Oh, come on, this is the big question. You can't all go silent on me now. Ben, I'm going to pick on you.
Okay, no, that's fine. Yeah, well, with Instagram, I think that there's a lot of features on there that can kind of cater to any sort of industry. I mean, obviously, there's a few industries that probably wouldn't benefit from there, but there's a lot of things like, obviously, the supporting local businesses, fundraising for charities, the shop features, loads of things. Like if you're integrating that with your marketing strategy, like it's a really, really good platform to use. I think like Paul, I think you mentioned this earlier, but like I think I'd read something similar that we spend about 2.5 hours a day or something on social as adults, which is quite a big chunk of the day really. And I mean, I'd liken it to like, say if you're watching TV and adverts are coming on the TV every couple of minutes, as opposed to like every 15 minutes or whatever it is. Like you should be using that advertising there for your service and product. Like if you're not using it, you're missing out. That's what I'd say.
Yeah, no, I think that's a good point. Simon, LinkedIn?
I think social media in general is such a powerful marketing tool because it comes in at various stages of the sales and marketing funnel. So we can use social media in part of brand awareness. We can use it when we're engaging with people. We can use it to educate people, and we can use it to convert people into a sale. So for me, it's a vital tool at every point. I think you've got to be more mindful as to what types of content you're going to use your social media in order to take people to the next stage of the funnel. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so obviously if we talk about brand awareness, it's about getting our name out there. It's about getting people to realize who we are and what we are and so forth. So it's probably more of a generic message. Whereas we've moved out the education and the conversion stage, it's probably more very specific to that target audience, how this is going to change your life, basically. And that's where I think that social media's values, and likewise Twitter and Instagram, and sadly dare I mention it, we haven't mentioned the TikTok one, have we yet? So I won't mention TikTok at all. Doctor Who's TARDIS TikTok. Get yourself on TikTok there for hours. But for me, it's these are all great networks that we can use at various points in the funnel to convert. Okay. Does it answer the question? Have I kind of waddled around that one?
I think you're all mentioning marketing strategy, and I'm just going to incorporate sales strategy into that as well. So yeah, that's fine. Paul, what about Twitter?
I think it goes back to just having a good long think about where your audience is, because and also what do you actually have to say. So like at the minute I'm doing a big event next week. Obviously I'm doing Newcastle Startup Week online next week. Just a bit of a plug there if you didn't already know about it. But it's always the same in the week leading up to it. It just builds momentum. There's a lot of excitement and buzz builds around the event, and Twitter is a really good way to kind of hype it up a bit more and remind people of all the good stuff we've done in the past and all the good stuff that's come up. So of all the platforms, Twitter's the one that's kind of getting the most engagement and most traffic and interest, and also keeping the speakers and the sponsors and the delegates engaged. Whereas the other ones, like I said, Instagram, I'm using it more in a different way. I'm reaching new audiences through Instagram, and LinkedIn, I'm using it more to kind of remind people of my kind of thought leadership or kind of credentials, I suppose, and trying to attract more of the investor types. That's what I'm using that for. But when I was looking before at the analytics, I mean, in terms of social media, one thing we're not talking about Facebook. Facebook is still the #1 referral source of social media referrals for Newcastle Startup Week. So it's Facebook, then LinkedIn, then Twitter. So even though I'm here talking about how great Twitter is, Facebook and LinkedIn are better in terms of driving direct traffic to the website. But in terms of reaching new audiences and keeping existing audiences, all the different audiences engaged, Twitter is the best one.
So I suppose this is part of Curtis's question then. Let's just say you are totally new to social media as a business, how do you know which platform to start, and how do you pick? We've mentioned 4, we're talking primarily about 3 platforms, but we've actually mentioned 5, haven't we, if you include TikTok and Facebook. How would you know where to start, guys? Where would you start if you were kind of completely new to social media from a business perspective? Simon? Sorry, I know that was not one of my pre-planned questions.
I think it very much depends on where your audience hang out. I think I would also say it's where your competitors hang out, and the kind of content that you are creating. So for example, if you are selling tractor engines, there'll be a very specific audience and a very specific platform where all these people will hang out, whatever that looks like. That's where I suggest you go. So be mindful of what your strategy is all about.
That was a very random one to
It
say.
was, wasn't it?
No, yes, it was.
Yeah, I thought you were thinking something really random and just throw them in.
Yeah, well done. You achieved that. So I suppose it starts then doing with a bit of research. Is that right, in terms of what your competitors are doing? If you know, we should all know who our target audience is and who we're trying to engage with. So I suppose it then starts with doing a bit of research, does it not? In regards to, well, it forms part of your sales and marketing strategy. Let's be honest, knowing who your target audience is. And once you find out that, you know, once you develop that research, you can start to look at where are those people, what platforms are they engaging with, and therefore, correct me if I'm wrong here, Simon, therefore you would align your business to one of those platforms. Or, I mean, should you be on all of them, Ben? Would you suggest some businesses it's relevant for them to be on all 5? Is that too much?
Again, I'd say it depends on your business type and who your audience is. I mean, example, like an estate agents, like we have one of the clients, they don't post houses on LinkedIn, but they post their sort of non-house content on there, because obviously they're still engaging with businesses and stuff, but not from selling a house. So again, it's adjusting the strategy as well, depending on the platform.
Mm-hmm.
So again, it just depends what you're on and sort of who you're trying to target.
Yeah, absolutely. Paul, do you want to add anything to that?
I have a slightly different thought on this. I think, so for that, the estate agent site, generally speaking, a lot of people on LinkedIn are like business leaders, decision makers, maybe people who are more likely to have money to spend or decision making power. So I've never seen an estate agent posting photos of amazing looking houses, but I think if they did, they would stand out and they might get a sale through LinkedIn.
Be surprised. Tried it.
Yeah,
No
right.
engagement.
All right, well, right, that's my theory got out of the window. Then like designers and creatives, I meet loads of them who they only ever put things on Instagram, but Instagram's full of designers and creatives. There's no shortage of them. But again, if you put something like that looks amazing on LinkedIn, I very rarely see designers or creatives putting examples of their work on LinkedIn. But if you're looking for a creative to work in your business, I think that would be a really good way to attract them. And I'm going to give a plug for Rich, who's there, is mygeekden.com. He's just launched a new business and it's amazing looking products for the home, like really cool. I would say they're not geeky, but they're just really well designed products for the home. So he's obviously on Instagram and Facebook, but I think LinkedIn for him could be a good one to. Yeah.
We've had a really interesting question, actually. I'm sorry, I don't know who it's from. It just says iPhone. So this is a really kind of good one. So how would you use visual social media to demystify an industry that perhaps isn't very Instagram worthy? And I think we can all do that. And I think it's quite difficult as well in service-based businesses. And I speak from experiences. We're normally out and about all the time. Whereas at the moment, obviously, Emma and I are both sat at home. We're heading back to the office. We've normally got loads of things on Instagram, for example, to take pictures of. But you know, there's only, I mean, I do drink a lot of coffee, Ben, but there's only so many pictures of my coffee that people want to see. So great question. You know, how do you kind of really get that, you know, that, oh yeah, that, I mean, how do you demystify that? Because I think if there's an industry there that isn't particularly like visually, appealing, what would be your advice?
Research, lots and lots of research. See, sort of, I would take a lot of inspiration. Look at websites of people in your industry, because there's things on there that you wouldn't necessarily think, oh, I'd post that on social media, but it could just be like, you know, like a background image or something like that, but that is relevant to your industry. Mm-hmm. And use that as your visual to accompany whatever copy you're posting. So I don't know, going back to Simon's example of the tractor engines.
Thanks for that one, Simon.
You know,
really appreciate you raising that one. Yeah.
It's the only thing I've worked with before, tractors. So if anybody has a tractor, I'm more than open to.
I love our conversations. They're so weird.
But yeah, I mean, literally, even taking pictures of something from a weird angle, if it was a tractor engine, or say if it's something that doesn't have a physical product base there. Have a look at some free stock image websites, find something that is relevant to what you're trying to say.
Mhm.
and just try and have that visual accompaniment with it, even if it's not precisely what you're trying to promote.
Yeah.
I
No,
think
thank-
Paul touched on something earlier actually about behind the scenes. We're all nosy as humans. That's what makes us, you know, we're all inquisitive. And definitely that behind the scenes, there's nothing more authentic than seeing what goes on when we're not kind of in a posh meeting or on stage presenting, you know. And I think that is really powerful in terms of storytelling as well. It gets across what we do, how we plan our day, whatever, you know. I think that has just as much credibility as a nice glossy image. If you kind of say, you know, I don't know what it would look like. I'm not going to mention tractor engines again, but it's something where we get a feel for what goes on outside the
Okay. I hope to, sorry, forgive me, I don't know who asked that question. I hope that answers it. Paul, have you got anything that you want to add? Sorry.
I think service sector is difficult, you know, because there's only so many times you can see pictures of someone on a Zoom chat or in a suit or something. But if you, I don't know, again, behind the scenes, if you can show examples of you doing the job, doing the work for a client. So for like you guys sales, like if you're short videos of you actually on a call or something, doing a sales call or doing a coaching session or training session or something like that, people want to know what you look like, what you sound like. Do you like it? Do they like you? Do they want to do business with you? So that's maybe something to do. And I think I mentioned it in the last session we did years and years ago when I worked for Sage. I mean, try and make an accountancy software look good on social media visually. It's very difficult, right? But the best thing I ever did in terms of engagement was I took a photo of a Sage branded coffee cup with a bit of lemon cake on it. Took like beautiful photo, and I was like, doing your accounts as a piece of cake with Sage, and it was just just like a bit of like stupid humor, but like people were loving it because of the cake. So I think cakes and chocolates.
We're simple humans, really, aren't we? It's the simple things in life that, yeah. Okay, I think we're kind of running out of time, but I just want to ask one last question. Again, guys, I'm sorry I'm putting you on the spot here because this is not pre-prepared. What's everybody's thoughts on vlogs?
Vlogs.
Tumbleweed.
I know, yeah.
But we encourage it. Yeah, absolutely. Again, it's that it could be behind the scenes.
I can't concentrate with you moving around. I can't. I honestly, it's like that.
I know. My legs are giving way. It's yeah, I would thoroughly recommend, especially get across that authentic side of who we are and what we are.
And I suppose does it go back to that, maybe if there isn't something that's maybe, you know, somebody's working in an industry or a service industry or whatever it might be, where they haven't necessarily got those things, you know, if we're trying to humanize the brand, if we're trying to really kind of, a vlog's a good way of doing that. Across every platform, guys, what's your thoughts?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, obviously on Instagram TV, it's practically like a mini YouTube. So it's a good place to get vlogs on there.
Definitely videos. I mean, I've been surprised how well videos do on LinkedIn. Like if I post a video on LinkedIn, sometimes it'll get 3,000, 4,000, 5,000 views depending on the video. And it doesn't get anywhere near that on Twitter or even Facebook. So and that's just organic. But again, I think people are probably getting a bit sick of seeing Zoom chats. So I'm just thinking, something I'm just thinking of right now is I might start doing more kind of on the move videos in unusual locations, which I think would stand out a little bit more. So the same sort of content, but doing it in different locations instead of nice as this is on my sofa in my room. Just mixing it up a little bit. But it's not easy, even though I've done loads of videos over the years. I'm not comfortable doing just a piece to camera. I'm much more comfortable doing this sort of thing or an interview than I am just pointing the camera at myself and talking. But once I start, it's fine.
It's fine.
Yeah.
Right, well, guys, it's nearly 5 o'clock. I hope this session has been, we've tried to make it as informal as usual, and as informal as we can, and raise some questions to the guys. I think you'll probably you'll be joining me in thanking the guys. They've been absolutely fantastic. I hope we've learned a little bit more about each one of the platforms and each one of the businesses that the guys are representing. I think it's such a changing beast. I'm sure each one of them, forgive me, I'm volunteering your services, would be more than happy to answer any of the questions you've got. Make sure you check out each one of them on their social media platform, because they are experts in their field. And yeah, we try and run these sessions every so often, really just to try and engage with people in a different way. I hope you found it useful. We've got loads of stuff going on at Just Williams. We've got book clubs, we've got seminars like this, we've got paid for webinars, we've got absolutely loads going on. So, I think in a time which is really challenging, and let's be honest, we're all at very different stages of this crazy journey that we're on, is that for me, it's about bringing people together like we are here and supporting one another and, helping each other as much as we possibly can. And if we can share tips, if we can share hints, if we can do all of that, for me, majority of us here are from the northeast, economy, and we really are here to support one another. I'm sure you'll agree, and we are, a region that is good at doing that. So, please do, as I say, if you want to reach out to anybody, I'm sure all the guys and all the people on the call will be more than happy to support. But thank you so much from Just Williams to Ben, Paul and Simon. Really, really appreciate your comments today on the social media platforms. And thank you to everybody for joining us. I hope you found that useful. Have a great evening, everybody. Take care.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Bye.